Go ahead and settle yourselves down, lying on the floor, for a breathing lesson. So as you're lying there, just noticing the weight of the back of your head, the back of your shoulders, how the ribs below your shoulder blades are resting. Noticing also the left and right sides, any differences. Notice the weight of your pelvis, and your arms, your legs, your feet. And of course, if it's more comfortable for you to bend your knees up, then do that. Just listening to what the body needs. And just begin following your breath. And noticing what moves. Where do you feel the breath? Starting with the upper chest. And you might, if you want to, you could even place your hands on your upper chest, just noticing how much or if your ribs move. And then bring your attention a little lower, the lower ribs. Noticing what you feel there with each inhalation and exhalation. And then bring your attention to your abdomen, just noticing, without doing anything to adjust, but just noticing in this moment your natural style of breathing. And then notice down in your pelvic floor, way down at the base of your pelvis. Is there any sense of any movement at all as you inhale and exhale? And for many of you, this is likely the very first time you've ever thought about feeling this with your breath. So if you feel nothing, then that's perfectly fine. We'll use this scan to come back and check in later and see if anything has changed. And then as you're lying there, also with the breath, notice the back of your ribs and shoulder blades. As you breathe in and your lungs fill with air, for many of you, the ribs in front of you move. Do you feel any sensation connected to the inhalation and exhalation, to the ribs resting on the floor? And then bring your attention to your lower back. Notice if there isn't a sense or a sensation of breath in your back, what do you do with that information? Are you able to be curious and interested? Or is the habitual mind well practiced at judging that maybe there's something wrong with you because you can't feel that? Just notice that. And then bring your attention to the sides of you, kind of under your armpits. Those sides up high where the ribs are, the ribs actually go all the way up under the armpits. Just notice if there's any sensation with the inhalation and the exhalation. And then finally, bring your attention to the sides of your waist, just above your pelvis, your waist. What an unusual place to imagine feeling your breath. And then just let that go. Let your mind wander for a minute. Remember, Feldenkrais is as much an exercise of attention, learning to attend to different parts of yourself, as it is necessarily about movements per se. We're retraining the mind and the brain to feel yourself more wholly, with a W. But if you want to be holy with an H, that's fine. All right, bringing your attention to your breath again, I want you to take the next few breaths intentionally puffing your chest up as you inhale. So you breathe in, you puff your chest up, and then you just let it go as you exhale. Now, for some of you, this may feel very natural, and for others of you, there may feel like a little bit of effort involved. So just notice that. And notice if you're doing anything else to create that puffing up of the upper chest. Notice if your jaw is relaxed and soft, your hands and feet are relaxed. And then let that go. And for many people, the more difficult puffing is to expand the lower abdomen as you inhale. So try as you breathe in to let your lower belly go and puff up with the inhalation and release with the exhalation. And if you feel nothing happening down there, rest assured, the first time I ever did this lesson, I thought the teacher was crazy because I was quite sure that that was not a movement that was meant to be. As it turns out, I was the one that was crazy, but that is usually the case. And then see if you can alternate. One breath, inhaling, puffing up the chest, letting it go with the exhalation. And then the next breath, puffing up the belly and letting it go. Good. And then just let all that go. And notice for yourself that even though a breathing lesson is deceptively simple, just notice your own quality of self-care and listening, not straining or tightening. Just letting your weight be surrendered to the floor. And then bring your attention to your upper back that is resting on the floor. And with the next inhalation, either physically imagine puffing your back into the floor, creating a little pressure. If you can't feel it physically, just imagine it. What would it be like if I could feel my breath expanding my lungs, creating pressure into the floor behind my ribs and shoulder blades. And then see if you can alternate, breathing in, puffing up the chest in front of you, exhaling fully, and then breathing in, puffing up the chest that's resting on the floor, the part of the ribs. Good, and then let that go. Surrender to the floor. Let the kind invitation of gravity settle you here. And then bring your attention to your lower back. Now it might be a little easier with your knees bent. And as you inhale, imagine that somehow the breath is filling that lower back area. So there might even be just a little pressure of the low back towards the floor. We tend to have a little less pressure under our low back with the floor. Some of us even arch away from the floor, so that's why bending your knees can be helpful. Breathing in and either actually or imagining the expansion of your lower back towards the floor with the inhalation and releasing it with the exhalation. And then again, alternating, breathing in, expanding your belly in front of you, letting it go as you exhale, and then breathing in, imagining your lower back expanding towards the floor. And just alternating that a few times. And then let that go and rest. Now, for some of you, lying on your backs for a while might also be fatiguing. So remember, at any point in the lesson, either during the rest or while we're focusing on a breathing activity, you can always roll on your side for a few moments. And then with the next few breaths, just imagine with the inhalation, filling the chest in front and in back at the same time. So your chest lifts a little in front of you, and maybe you feel a little pressure into your back. And then see if you can shift down to your lower abdomen with the inhalation, expanding the lower abdomen in front of you while simultaneously taking your attention into your lower back as if front and back are expanding with the inhalation and relaxing with the exhalation. And then can you alternate? Inhaling, expanding the chest in front and in back, and releasing with the exhale. And then inhaling and expanding the abdomen and the low back. And then back to the chest. And then expanding the lower abdomen. And then let that go and rest. And then see if you can take a few breaths, expanding everything, as if you're filling your chest, your abdomen, the ribs in your back and your low back with the inhalation, and letting it all go with the exhalation. And as you do this, when you exhale, really exhale fully, even adding a little bit of extra exhalation at the end before you inhale again. Good, and then just let it go. Let it go, and just notice, does your mind want to go somewhere else? Does it want to get busy? Does it want to focus on discomfort? Is it slowly falling asleep? And then this time we're going to bring our attention to the pelvic floor. And what I want you to do is a couple times exhale fully and just a little bit forcefully. And notice as you exhale, can you feel your pelvic floor lifting in the direction of a Kegels or a tightening? But it's only like 5% of that. Just a gentle little lift with the exhale. And then a release with the inhale. And an exhale and a gentle lifting, almost towards a tightening, but not a genuine tightening. But what I really want you to feel is that letting go when you inhale, that gentle sort of opening and softening of the pelvic floor. And then let your exhales just be natural and easy. And as you inhale, combine both that relaxation of the pelvic floor with the fullness of the belly, possibly including the fullness of the low back. So you breathe in, your belly expands, you have a sense of opening in the low back and a softening, opening in the pelvic floor. And as you breathe out, the belly relaxes, the pelvic floor lifts just so slightly. And then take your hands and place them on your waist, on the right and left sides of your waist. So as you breathe in, and you expand your belly and you feel that softening in your pelvic floor, let your fingers give your breath a cue to expand also into your sides. Breathe in and just imagine that balloon on the inside of you, three-dimensionally expanding forward and backwards, left and right and downward. And then everything deflates as you exhale. It fills to its fullness on your inhale. And then just let that go. Take a rest. And then if you're able to, you don't have to, but if you're able to somehow touch the ribs on your right and left sides just below your armpits. So you might put your right hand under your right armpit and your left hand, or you might cross your arms. That, for some of you, it might be easier to do an opposite hand. Again, now we're going to inhale and breathe into the front of our chest, the back of our chest, and give that invitation to have some awareness of the lungs and the ribs expanding into your sides with each inhalation, as if you're getting wider, and relaxing with the exhalation. And then just let that go. And notice what has become of your natural breathing state now. It's a little hard not to superimpose an idea on it, but just notice where you feel your breath when you're not focused on a particular area. Without doing anything, notice what's happening in your chest. Notice what's happening in the back ribs and the shoulder blades. Notice if there's any noticing in the ribs on your sides. And also just notice with your regular breathing what's happening in your abdomen, in your low back, in your pelvic floor. And then let yourself just stay with the gentle breathing in and out. And without holding your breath or contracting, see if you can find your way onto your side and up to standing. Take your time. Some of you might get a little dizzy, but continue being aware of your breathing as you come up into standing. Notice the times when you're trying to bring yourself to standing that you try to maybe hold your breath or contract your ribs or your abdomen. And then just once you're standing, just sort of notice also, where do you feel your breath now? Notice what's happening in your chest, in your abdomen, in your pelvic floor, in the back of you. And then just take yourself for a walk and notice what you notice.